Hello, my name is Edgar, and this video will cover the concept of HTTP. This video is more of a refresher reference for anyone who already knows what HTTP is. But if you do not know what HTTP is, or you're new to web development in general, this video is a concise video that should get you up to speed with the concept. So, what does HTTP stand for? HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And you might have also seen HTTPS, and that stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure. Sorry, I had to think about that really quickly. But yeah, that is typically used in any data that needs to be transferred, but within an encryption, like it needs to be hidden, it needs to be secret. So any data like telephone numbers, credit card numbers, any data that you don't want in the hands of a hacker, you're going to need to set up HTTPS via SSL certificates with your DNS or domain provider. So yeah, now that we know what HTTP stands for, what is it actually? Well, HTTP is the standard protocol in the internet for transferring data. There's some other kinds of protocols like UDP that I could think of from game development. But all you gotta know is that HTTP is the standard, most widespread way to transfer data in the internet. So yeah, HTTP sends messages called messages, and those contain two parts. They contain a header and a body. The HTTP message header contains basically all the metadata of this message. So it would typically contain data such as like what is the kind of data that is being transferred. The other part, the body of a message, is actually where the data lies. So just keep that in mind. So there are two kinds of messages that are sent via HTTP, and they are called an HTTP request and an HTTP response. HTTP request contains a verb or method, whatever you want to call them, and a URL, which is the target in which the request is looking for data or trying to manipulate data at. There is also HTTP responses, and it's going to contain a status code and a status message. And the status message is just like the human readable message that tells you how this transaction is going. So I know that's a lot within 3 minutes, but I promise I'm going to clear up some things. So what is an HTTP verb/method? Well, in the context of web applications, websites, where the client is either directly or indirectly speaking to a server or database, there are 4 major verbs that you need to know. The first of which is the get verb, which gets data from the database. Then there's a post verb, which adds items to the database. And then there's a put verb, which updates an item in the database entirely. And finally, there is the delete verb, which, as you might have guessed, deletes an item from the database. There's a lot of other verbs and methods that you can look up for your particular use case. 2 of which I can think of at the moment is a HTTP patch, which is like a partial update of an item in a database, and HTTP head, which returns just the header or the head data, metadata, in a HTTP response. But yeah, just know those 4, and if you need anything else, just look them up. The final thing we'll go over is a status code or status responses. So status codes are basically the responses way to tell you how a transaction of data via HTTP is going. I'll go through the general ones really quickly with you. So a status codes in the 100s are basically just like, it's informational. It tells you that currently your process is going okay. Wait like a millisecond or 2, and we'll get back at you at how this ends. So it just updates you on how this this transaction's going. And if you get a status code in the 200s, that is what you want. That just means that your request was successful and that you should be happy. There were also status codes in the 300s. Those are typically like redirect links and like basically the server telling you that additional data is needed from the client side in order to complete this transaction. There are status codes of 400, and that is a client error. Client errors include if a client or user is trying to get into parts of the website that they're not supposed to, or the form they're filling out is not completed sufficiently. It's something that you should notify on the front end to your client to know what they did wrong. The most popular status code actually is a 404, and that just means like the URL is not found. That typically happens with dead links, but yeah. And finally, the last status codes we're going over are status codes in the 500s. That means that the server or database, or the physical database actually, like the database burned down, and like whatever, something in the server is wrong. There's an error on the developer's end, and you're going to need to log that, find out what's going on, and fix it immediately. So that is HTTP in like 7 or so minutes. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you all next time.